What's the worst case scenario for Bitcoin? Today we're going to talk about the two scenarios, one including this downtrending channel and two, this reaccumulation structure. We'll be talking about those scenarios in a lot of detail, so subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like this video if you enjoy content like this going forward, and let's dive right into it. So we know that price is in a downtrending channel. It's this black channel top here to the channel bottom, and we tend to offer overextensions into the red region of resistance where we tend to essentially reject from. We've done the same thing here essentially last week. And on the flip side of that, we tend to see bargain buying opportunities in this orange region. First of all, it started off with downside wicks here, and we've been seeing candle bodied closes in recent months a lot more frequently than ever before. But the thing about this channel bottom is that it's been reclaimed into support only 2 weeks ago, enabling the cross channel move to the very top here. And right now, what this means is that, of course, we're rejecting, but we have to understand that this July downtrend here has been broken 2 weeks ago, and now we're retesting this same downtrend as new support. So it ended as a resistance back here, and just notice how it was a really strong resistance back here in the past. In fact, this rejection here saw price drop back into 50k, even lower than that. That second test of that July downtrend saw price go into 52k, and you can see how that's already a weakening in terms of that resistance, because each time we're seeing shallower and shallower retraces until finally that resistance breaks altogether. So that resistance became a weak resistance, it's now become a broken resistance, and now we're negotiating whether this is now going to become a new support. And generally, this green region right over here, well, that's the old all-time high region of support that's been holding as a general support for the past 7 months in a row. So this is now the 8th month that we're seeing price essentially find price strength confirmation and stability here. So a successful retest here is going to enable price to rally across the channel once again, and really important in the future for these highs essentially to get reclaimed as support, because this was a resistance and a point of rejection, and we had the opportunity to turn this into support, but unfortunately we lost this level as a support and we failed the retest. But we're now seeing a really important retest in this downtrend altogether, so a follow through from here would see price try to reclaim that 65k region, and reclaiming that level as a support would be quite pivotal to seeing price really challenge once again this channel top as a resistance for a potential breakout even. Because if we look at previous channel rejections, right, so the channel top, we saw a rejection here, we saw a rejection here, so that's an even deeper rejection. We saw this sort of rejection, so an even deeper one. We saw this rejection, so the deepest one thus far. If we see a shallow rejection right now, then we're going to see the same thing that we saw back here in this downtrend. Retraces which were initially deep, but then got progressively more shallow before they finally broke. So if we're talking about this rejection here, then we're probably going to see a much shallower retrace right now. And if it's going to be a really shallow retrace to the point where we're just retesting the top of this downtrend as support right now, and it becomes only this sort of a shallow retrace compared to really this deep retrace, then that just showcases to us that this is a resistance that has been strong in the past, producing really strong rejections. Remember, we saw a rejection here, but then a deeper rejection right over here, and then an even deeper one right over here, and then the deepest one here. If we're getting progressively deeper and deeper and deeper rejections, and then now transitioning from the deepest rejection into a shallower rejection, then we're going to get a moment in time where finally this resistance is actually weakening, and then the next time we challenge here, maybe we get a shallow, really shallow dip, or we just break out beyond here altogether. So that's an interesting downtrending channel perspective. And let's look at this second perspective, because we are in a reaccumulation range here, and we've been here for, well, since mid-March. So it's been a really long time. 7 months going into its 8th month right now. And in recent weeks, we saw a downside deviation below the range low of 60,600. And we've seen many downside deviations that have been scooped up and bought up aggressively by bargain buyers. And each time we've seen a reversal towards the upside from this bargain buying region. This hasn't been the case just in this moment in the cycle, but in previous moments in the cycle. Every orange circle you look here, you can see downside deviation has preceded upside opportunity. But whenever we see a break back above the reaccumulation range low here, because remember, the reaccumulation range low was a resistance back here, it was a support back here. So if it was a resistance here, and then we broke above here but lost it as support, it was a resistance back here as well. We've broken back above there, and now we're retesting to turn this range low into a new support. And holding this level, which is a confluent range low support here with the downtrend from the previous chart, this is a confluent area of support, and a successful retest here would predispose price to a rally across not just the downtrending channel, but this overall reaccumulation range. And the thing about this reaccumulation range is that it really is approaching breakout time in terms of historically recurring price tendencies after the halving. Post-halving reaccumulation phases tend to last 154 based on 2016 or 161 days after the halving before we finally break out. In this case, we are seeing a slight extension in that reaccumulation phase. It's 168 days or so, and so it is a period of overextension in terms of time. But we have to understand that we got a new all-time high in the pre-halving period for the first time ever, and this is a feat, a technical feat that we tend to see only 214 days after the halving. So since it's 168 days after the halving and 214 days after the halving is where we tend to see new all-time highs as per previous cycles, then we're 2 months. Well, we were essentially 260 days ahead of schedule when we rallied to new all-time highs pre-halving, but we're still 60 days or so, so 2 months ahead of schedule in that regard. So we could still see consolidation here for the next 2 months and then reduce the rate of acceleration in this current cycle down to 0. But in doing that, of course, we'd see extension in this reaccumulation range, and it would be the longest reaccumulation range of all time. So what's more important to Bitcoin? Is it reducing the rate of acceleration in an already accelerated cycle? And remember, we've reduced the rate of acceleration from 260 days to just 60 days. So that's a real that's some real progress, reducing the rate of acceleration by 200 days down to just 60 days. But is Bitcoin more interested in following through on post-halving reaccumulation phase tendencies with a potential future breakout anytime soon? Or is it more interested in trying to reduce the rate of acceleration that still lingers in this cycle? That's a pretty interesting question, and hopefully we'll soon know the answer to that once we get a successful retest of this reaccumulation range low. If there is a successful retest here, which is also the confluent support of this downtrend, then we'll start to see price uptrend within this downtrending channel to finally break the channel top as resistance before we can finally go and challenge for the low 70s. But if we do fail this range low here, this range low retest, we'll have once again a period of bargain buying and downside deviation below this reaccumulation range low. And this is where loads of people are going to be capitulating. Loads of people are going to experience maximum pessimism, extreme fear. But all of those emotions, all of those combustible, fervent, extreme emotions precede financial opportunity. And this has been the case not just in this range, but across previous ranges in the past throughout the cycle. This cycle generally has been a cycle of reaccumulation ranges all the way to the halving and new all-time highs, and history is suggesting to us that this is going to be no different. But of course, we are going to see more bargain buying opportunities here, but the main goal is for price to simply finally reclaim the range low as support, to rally to 70k for a challenge at breaking out beyond this reaccumulation range high, ending the post-halving reaccumulation phase to finally transition into the post-halving parabolic upside phase of the cycle. It is taking a little bit longer, but price is still ahead of schedule by 2 months. So do we need to see a bit more consolidation here, additional sideways price action? As long as this range low continues to act as support, then we're going to be predisposed to and positioned for a revisit of this reaccumulation range high, and maybe in the near future we'll see a breakout to the parabolic phase of the cycle, slightly extended, more so than 161 days after the halving, slightly longer than usual, but still paradoxically ahead of schedule. And if you like this sort of in-depth analysis, check out the link in the description down below to sign up to the Rekt Capital newsletter. It's for free. I think you'll find a lot of value there. I think you'll find a lot of value and insight in these sort of charts, just breaking them down in a level-headed manner, really understanding the price action, what's going on, the psychology, the data science behind it, the historically recurring price tendencies. It's all there in the Rekt Capital newsletter. So sign up, click on the link in the description down below, and I'll see you then, and I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe to the channel, of course, as well. Like this video if you enjoy content like this going forward, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.